beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for patriot dream that sees beyond the years, thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, till nobler men keep once again thy white hart jubilee.
September 11th, 2001, I was getting ready for my college courses, 21 years old, going to school. It was a day like any other. But it was obviously off to a different start when I heard on my way out the word attack. My mom had the news on, and as soon as I glanced over, I saw flames bursting out of the World Trade Centers in New York. And I knew that this day would be uniquely different forever. And I think along with every other American that day, I was glued to the news and to the TV, to the words of the president, to the words of people talking about what this event was. And I remember a sense of disbelief. I think at 21 years old, living in a prosperous time in America, you never think about the reality of how vulnerable you are to evil. It never really hit me before that day that there are people who want my way of life destroyed, everything that my nation, my country has been founded on, that they were full of hatred towards it and towards my God. And I had this utter disbelief that someone could go to such hateful actions to take innocent human life on this vendetta and agenda that they say is from God. It really was sobering. And today we remember something that happened so many years ago, and we use this phrase, never forget. And why? Why is it important for us, not only as Americans, but I think even more so as Christians, to remember 9/11 still? It's not because 9/11 is so much more evil or tragic than other days in history that are marked with evil and tragedy. But it is close to home. And it is important for us to remember and to always keep in mind that evil is always close to home. That terror, that the enemy, that hate does not rest, does not take a break, but it's always seeking opportunity to steal and to kill and to destroy. And of course, the answer is not in politics. The answer is not in responding hate to hate. The answer for the Christian is to recall and to remember that Jesus has told us, you are the light of the world. You are the salt of the earth. It's what we are. And so as a Christian, as an ambassador of Christ, I choose to remember 9/11 because it reminds me that just as evil seeks to invade light, so God has called light to invade darkness. God has called us not to take bombs and guns and weapons, but to take the light and truth of the gospel of Jesus Christ, His salvation, His forgiveness, His sacrifice, His love, His truth, called us to take that not only to the darkest parts of the world that are without that gospel and that truth, but the darkest parts of our nation, the darkest parts of our own communities that are in bondage to Satan's lies. It should remind us today that Satan is seeking opportunity, but we know that God's truth, God's love, and God's gospel will ultimately win the day. And so we should not be inspired to fear or anger or hatred. We should be inspired to pick up our cross and deny ourselves and follow Jesus. And obviously, as Americans, this day we remember that God has entrusted our nation to hold the line of freedom, of liberty, in a world that is full of terror and totalitarianism and evil and wickedness. And we are to continue to carry that banner, that responsibility, that stewardship that God has entrusted to us. So on this 9/11, let us soberly remember and be reminded that our work here is not yet finished. There is good to be done. There is truth to be spoken. There are souls to be won.